Manukau Harbour, easterly of 10 knots this morning. That'll rise to northeast 15 this afternoon. Waitemata, easterly 10, rising to 15 this afternoon. Hauraki Gulf, easterly 15, rising to 20 this evening. Strong wind advisory, Bream Head to Cape Colville, easterly 15, but 20 gusting 30 about the channel, rising to 20, but 25 hitting 35 about the channel this afternoon. The next high tide at Auckland is 1:30 this afternoon, and Onehunga is 4:30. Partly cloudy for Auckland, a few morning and evening showers, mainly north of the Harbour Bridge, high 20, low back to 13 overnight tonight. Tomorrow, cloudy periods with isolated showers. They should clear away in the morning. Showers developing again in the evening, though, with fresh easterlies and a high of 20. Right now in Auckland, 17.
Have your say on the big stories of the day. Call 0800 80 1080. It's Kerre Woodham Mornings on your home of morning talk. News Talk ZB.
10:07. Christopher Luxon, as promised, we're 6 months out. We're really 5 months out from a general election. And it is time for our quarterly catch-up with the Leader of the Opposition. And I have said to you, I do not want to hear, let me be clears, let me be perfectly clears, no sloganeering. Everyone's sick of it.
No, I get it. People want straight talk, and the story's pretty straight. We've got an awesome country. We've got endless potential. We're not realising it. We're not solving our problems, and so we've got to go to work on that.
Is acing you at the moment?
Well, the bottom line is I've got to keep working hard at it. I've got to keep making the case. We've got to keep talking about what we're going to do, and that's what we're going to do. Let's get into it for the next hour.
Bottom line,
that sounds like jargon,
close.
Kerre. That sounds like jargon.
I'm going to call you.
You be careful about that, please.
Right. Why on earth would you reinstate live exports of beef and sheep? Cattle and sheep.
Well, look, there's
0.2% of agricultural earnings, and you're buying a huge fight with animal rights activists, not just here, but around the world. And it looks awful.
Yeah, let me give you a clear... No, there you go. No, I said let me be straight about where we are with that. We've got two conditions on that. It's only going to happen if two things happen. So the first thing is you've actually got to make sure we've got massively high standards of animal welfare with the transportation of those animals into those markets. And the second thing is we only send them to markets where they have the same standards of animal welfare as New Zealand. Those are the two guide rails, the two constructs that we've framed up around.
And how on earth do you prevent somebody from breaking their legs and loading them into the boot of a car once they get to the country of destination?
Well, that's the point. We're going to certify all of that. We're going to make sure we don't sell to those countries that don't have the same standards of animal welfare as New Zealand. The second thing is, this is the deal. It's a really bad industry, right? Because actually the transportation of live animals in ships is a there's about 100 ships. There's only 20 that are actually purpose built. But when you see the right ones, they're $100 million each. They have air conditioning. They have really good density. They have good ventilation, good food, all that sort of stuff. So I get it, but New Zealand's not in a place where we just walk away from $500 million industry and actually we need to...
It was $282 million. It was 0.2
It's $500 million that $500 million worth of industry. And what we're saying is, look, we can put some really strong guide rails around it. We'll have the same standards of animal welfare that we have in New Zealand. We won't sell to countries that actually don't have that, and we'll make sure we have a gold standard of animal welfare in terms of transportation of those animals. The last ship out, actually a couple of weeks ago, Nicola Grigg went down and actually inspected it, who's our Associate Agriculture spokesperson. She's getting daily updates from that ship as those animals are moved over the next couple of weeks to the markets, as that's what's happening and how's that all working. She was really impressed by that, and there is genuinely, they're purpose-built ships for that purpose. That hasn't been the case in the past. So we've got to make sure gold standard on animal welfare. We've got to make sure we only sell to countries that actually have the same standards as New Zealand. But actually, New Zealand is declining. The economy is not growing. That you can't just walk away from $500 million in live exports. You can't walk away from $500 million in kiwi fruit that we left on the table last year either. We don't have those choices. So I think we can do it, but we do it with those safeguards in place. If they're not there, if those two conditions can't be met, then it's not happening.
Then surely you can support farmers without doing something that even Nats don't like. A lot of Nats don't like that.
We came out last week with a whole bunch of things for farmers, because I've been around talking in wool sheds and cow sheds, and the messages are really clear.
Taken as read.
Yep, 19 actions that actually are just dumb stuff that the government's been doing that's clogging up their life. 20 to 30% of their week spent filling in paperwork, providing the same information to multiple government departments. We need these guys freed up. Here's the deal on agriculture, which is we have got ourselves into an incredibly negative frame here in New Zealand about agriculture. We are the best in the world at it. It is actually the thing that economically powers New Zealand. And New Zealand is in economic trouble right now.
Yeah, we know that.
It is a massive problem going forward.
But then why do something sloganeering like 2 for 1? Because that's silly. Just get rid of dumb legislation.
Yeah, well,
why do 2 for 1?
Yeah, but I mean, I know you've got, there's 19 things in there and you can get hung up on that one. But the point is really simple, which is you can't just go passing dumb regulation, which is what's been happening from councils and from central government. So here's an example. Wetland legislation gets drafted. Basically, after it rains, a puddle forms outside a culvert. It is deemed then a wetland. There's some really poor crafting in that legislation. When I talk to the government and say, hey, listen, that's really dumb. It's driving a whole bunch of stress, anxiety on farm because no one knows what the hell it means. They say, oh, we'll fix all that up later. They never do. They never get it fixed up. So the point of that sort of thing, of the 2-for-1, is saying for the first 3 years, we need regulation. We need it to be smart. We need it to be simple. We need it to be clear and well understood. But one of the ways you culturally get that change is you build better legislation. If you actually have to go one shot to get it right, you do it once, you do it right, you get it perfect. You do it well and you get it implemented great.
Well, fine.
Yeah, but you can't have what's happening as councils and government just sort of leaking out and vomiting up a whole bunch of legislation into farms that actually is not thought through, that works at cross purposes with other bits of legislation, and farmers are sitting there going, how the hell am I supposed to navigate all of this? So that's the reason you have something like that. That's the reason you also say, when you introduce the regulation, what's the cost on the agricultural sector that the farmer has to pick up? So I appreciate the mechanics, but the mechanics to change the culture of, you don't just, as I say, vomit up a whole bunch of regulation on farmers that's not thought through and actually workable.
Trevor, you agree with me about the sloganeering?
Yeah, he's just, I've been a 50-year voter for Conservatives, and Chris, you're coming across as a bumper sticker reporter. The media is against you. They're picking up your bumper stickers, and all they're doing is giving 5 words, your bumper sticker reporter. You got to come up and stop the media from doing it, so don't report these bumper stickers. Come out with policies in sentences, not just 5 or 6 words like this 2-for-1 they've got. That's ridiculous, coming up with that statement. They're playing you off. You've just been reported as a bumper sticker politician.
Yeah, well, like Trevor, I mean, I just encourage you, go back and look at the policy that we have put forward this year, because when I was last on Kerry's show, everyone said, oh, well, it's all very well, saying these guys are rubbish, but actually what are you going to do in the National Party? And actually we have got good ideas. Go back and look at the 3 water plan. Go back and look at the basic education piece. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
And I agree with you that it's really hard to get the message across in short sound bites. And people aren't critical thinkers anymore. They take their stuff from...
Well, the soundbite for agriculture is pretty simple with the 19 actions, and I appreciate, the 2-for-1's one of those. But the bottom line is, look, we're taking the regulatory load off farmers. We want them to do what they do, which is get out and grow their businesses and grow New Zealand as a result.
We'll say that.
Yeah.
You're being poorly advised. Look, I'm sorry, but it's true. I mean, there's a lot of people who are very dissatisfied with the way the country has been run. There's a lot that are satisfied. If you look at the polls, there is absolutely no reason why Chris Hipkins should be neck and neck.
Well, look, I think this election is going to be a change election. You've got to make a choice. New Zealanders put this government in with record numbers, gave them the biggest majority ever less than 2 years ago. And that's the reality of the situation. And they've now all of a sudden decided, we're not happy with how the country's going. And they're dead right about that. They shouldn't be happy about where it's going, because every single way we look at it, we're going backwards. Economy's going backwards big time. Law and orders are falling, rising. We've got crimes rising. We've got health and education falling apart. And we haven't sold housing or infrastructure. They are the 5 big things that Kiwis want to talk to me about. And then they've also played identity politics and tried to pitch us off against groups of New Zealanders rather than actually try and unify us. So the public really just want 3 things. They want a more unified country, they want a less expensive one, and they want a more convenient one. And that's really the work that we've got to get into and get doing. But we've got a big choice in New Zealand this election, because either we have a great country, we have endless potential, but we are not living up to that potential and we are not solving problems. And we have first world expectations, but we're at risk of becoming a second world country. And so you don't just get to stay in first world status, you have to earn it. And this generation has to earn it. So, New Zealand needs to make a decision of the choice that it has. Do you think that we can actually, is this the way we want to keep going for the last 6 years? Or do we actually want to change direction and actually realise the potential, get more ambition into the joint and get moving?
How do you think people see you if we're talking identity politics? Chris Hipkins has nailed the shucks, down home, Hutt Valley boy.
Yeah, look, I mean, people know what I've done. They don't know who I am. That's a function of how I've come through into the politics, and I get all of that, and I've got to work harder at it, and people have got to get to know me and all that sort of stuff. But that's why I'm out of Wellington, out with the town hall meetings in Ashburton and Timaru and Temuka yesterday, getting people to get a chance to actually meet Chris Luxon and actually get a sense of what I'm about, what's motivating me, why I'm passionate about it. I mean, I've come to this thing 2 years ago because I watched it really closely with both governments, the National Government and the Labour Government, and just feel very strongly New Zealand is not realising its potential, and yet it has endless potential. And so I've chosen to come here to go to work on the problems. I don't care about left or right, I just care about going forward, not backwards. And so, hopefully people have understood, I've had a task to do in the last year and a half, which is first and foremost, sort the National Party out from the dysfunction it was in, which we've done a good job on, get the team in place, get the same people getting a different outcome and playing as a team. Make sure that we take the case to the government over the last year, which was really around, that we aren't performing, but when we're fighting with ourselves, we weren't actually holding the government to account very well. And then this year is about what's the vision of where we're going, and importantly, what are we going to do in terms of getting some of these problems solved. So that's the work of this year. So that's the model that I've been, that's the program that I've been trying to work through as a leader to actually get ourselves competitive, electable, and to paint a vision of where we want to go as a country.
But how are you as salesman selling yourself? I mean, what did Matthew Hooton call you?
Oh, well, I mean, when I came in, people made all sorts of judgments about what kind of person I was, and that was partly political, and I guess it was partly, he's deeply religious, he's a rich guy, he's, all those sorts of things. So the bottom line is, look, I'm just a guy who happened to be raised by mum and dad who left school at 15, 16. I came from a classic Kiwi background. I went to university. I went out in the world and was successful. I want to do something for the country. I could do a gazillion other things. I'm determined that New Zealand actually realises its potential. It's an awesome country, but we're not doing that at the moment. We're losing ground against other countries around the world, and our standard of living and our standards are actually falling. So we've got to do something about that. So that's why I'm here. I'm used to solving problems. I get it. Not a career politician for 20 years, but actually that's what's needed at the moment, to be honest. You need someone to actually understand the economy, understand what's going on, and actually determined to solve it. And I think an outsider doing that job is better than an insider at the moment.
News Talk ZB, Christopher Luxon in studio until 11 o'clock. We'll be taking your calls very shortly. It's 10:17.
Looking for a temp or contracting role? Talk to Tribe Recruitment. New Zealand owned, New Zealand wide. Go to tribegroup.com.
In a pickle, at Save My Bacon, we know life happens at lightning speed, and sometimes you need a little power up to get you through. Borrow up to $5,000 online and take control of your finances today. Save My Bacon, a brighter way to borrow. Blending criteria and T's and C's apply.
Go Harvey Norman for bonus gift cards on selected big brand TVs and great deals on audio. Plus great deals on ovens, cooktops, range hoods, dishwashers and refrigeration. Gift card terms and conditions apply. See in store for details. Limited time only at Harvey Norman.
Go!
The Milford Foundation and Milford invite you to Burgers, Beers and Brilliant Sports People, a sports star-studded fundraiser for Cyclone Gabrielle recovery, hosted by Jason Gunn, Monday 8th May at Eden Park. For info and tickets, visit milfordfoundation.co.nz.
For the latest in Super Rugby news and scores, you'll find it on News Talk ZB and iHeartRadio, thanks to NZ Safety Blackwoods. Bringing you all the news from on and off the field, so you stay up to date with the latest from the top teams from New Zealand, Australia and the Pacific. News Talk ZB's coverage of Super Rugby with NZ Safety Blackwoods for tools, engineering, safety, workwear, footwear and more.
The Webb's Collectors Cars, Motorcycles and Automobilia live auction is taking place this Sunday at 2:30 p.m. There will be a range of exceptional cars and motorcycles, many offered without reserve. The April catalogue includes pre-war classics and modern collectors' cars, including Jaguar, Porsche, Mercedes-Benz, Lotus, Land Rover classic motorcycles, and a special edition BMW designed in collaboration with artist Jeff Koons. Preview the auction this week at the Webb's Gallery in Mount Eden, or go to webbs.co.nz.
Your weekend sorted with Canvas.
Hi, I'm Sarah Daniel, editor of Canvas. This week, Colson Whitehead, prize-winning author, talks about monsters, Marvel, and trying not to screw up. We talk to a doctor about where psychiatry's gone wrong. We explore Reese Witherspoon's expanding universe, plus amazing recipes with Annabelle Langbein, matched by our wine expert Yvonne Lorcan.
Canvas has your weekend sorted. In the Weekend Herald or at canvasmagazine.co.nz.
At Save My Bacon, we believe in a brighter way to borrow. We've powered up to bring you our new Flex Loan, so you can now borrow up to $5,000. Apply online at savemybacon.co.nz. A brighter way to borrow. Lending criteria and T's and C's apply.
Simon Barnett and James Daniels.
Men associate meat eating with manliness. and I mentioned to the team before we came on air, I'm actually almost vegetarian. I don't eat a lot of meat, and so what does that say about me was the question I posed, and James said we didn't need that to tell us the answer.
We went straight to the answer, exactly.
Back today, 12 till 4 p.m. Simon Barnett and James Daniels afternoons, only on News Talk ZB.
News Talk ZB 10:21. Christopher Luxon, leader of the National Party, in for the hour. Capital gains tax. IRD does a great big report. Treasury does some follow-up analysis. There's a big press conference with David Parker, and nothing happens.
Yeah, well, what is going on there? I mean, basically, Parker's gone and spent $3 million, taken 2 years to do an exploration on 311 families. And then, you've clearly got a Labor government that's shaping for a capital gains tax, a wealth, inheritance or death tax. And that's really what this exercise has all been about. Chris Hipkins sits on the fence and says neither ruling it in, now they're ruling it out. That is hugely damaging for New Zealand, because people who want to make investments in this country need to know what the rules and what certainty they're going to have doing exactly that. But the big issue here is actually that's an attack. I think they're trying to blame wealthy people for what's happening in this country economically. And the real problem is they are not getting to the root causes of how you sort this economy out. They're trying to blame rich people for the problems that we've got, and I don't think that's on.
But we like looking at other countries and comparing what they do and saying, well, look, this country's doing that, we should do the same. Every other country that we compare ourselves with in the OECD has some form of capital gains.
Yeah, but the bottom line is, go look at places like, Canada or Australia. You've got very high house prices. I mean, my concern is actually for the middle income earner in New Zealand. Got a good job, average income, and still can't get ahead. I was in a budgeting service event the other day where a family called me up and said, Chris, would you come along to this budgeting counselling session we've got to have? And the reason was they'd gone from a 2.5% interest rate to a 6.5% interest rate, and the bank was threatening a mortgagee sale because they couldn't make the payments. Now, they had a $1.1 million house, family of four, blended family, ended up going there, and they're now on an interest-only repayment schedule. But you're sitting there with the family going through all the ins and outs of their finances. You've got tension between the couple around money. You've got them denying kids things that they'd normally want to be able to support. Well, there are already 20,000 Kiwis that are in arrears with their mortgages, and we have a major set of problems coming at us economically in the next 6 months, 12 months, 15 months. So the bottom line is the government's not dealing with that and just blaming rich people for the problems that they've got. That doesn't help that middle income person talking about 311 families. What helps them is get inflation under control, get interest rates under control, get the economy growing, make sure we don't have a risk of unemployment. Why have we ended up where we are in New Zealand? It's really simple. This government was the second biggest spending government in the world. It was the fourth biggest in printing money. It was the biggest in terms of actually shutting down the economy and actually closing it down, immigration settings, all that stuff. All of that led to pumped up domestic inflation. That led to asset value inflation, like you've seen with that report. And that then leads to high interest rates, it leads to recession, and it leads to unemployment. That's the history of economics. And we know that well in New Zealand. Think about the late 70s, early 80s, that history. We've forgotten that history. And this government has failed to actually to make any adjustments to inflation, to deal with inflation, as the issue has got away from them over the course of the last 2 years. And that's what I'm frustrated and angry about, because when I took the leadership, I said there's amber lights on the dashboard. You better start making adjustments now, because the longer it goes, the worse it gets and the uglier the medicine has to be.
So what are you going to do about it?
So you've got to tackle the causes of inflation. You've got to make sure that you don't pass costs on to businesses that lead to higher prices. You need to free up the immigration settings and the bottlenecks that we have in the economy so that businesses that want to grow can grow, because many businesses at the moment aren't expanding, growing, because it's just too damn hard to do so. You need to make sure you control government spending, because these guys are spending $1 billion extra every single week.
Chris
that is
Hipkins
a huge amount of money.
is.
Chris Hipkins can say whatever he wants. I mean, the bottom line is this is a guy that says stuff but actually doesn't do stuff. He hasn't got a track record of getting things done. And it's a bit convenient when you're 6 years into a government and him and Ardern and Robertson with the holy trinity of the Labor Party driving it, and 4 months out from election you say, I'm going to get serious about now controlling government spending. High spending led to high borrowing, led to high taxing. These guys are taxing the average, another $17,500 in tax per household, $43 billion raised in tax. Because inflation's great for this government, because prices go up by 7.5%. GST goes on top of that. They're making huge amounts of tax. So they are spending more, they're borrowing more, they're taxing more, they're printing more, but they're not focused on growing the economy and actually getting to the root cause of our problems. And that's why I've always been saying we're the only party that's actually giving that middle income earner a tax break. We're saying, actually, we're going to inflation adjust the tax thresholds. We're going to give you a childcare rebate if you've got childcare costs. We think that's a much better way to do it. We trust you to keep you and spend your money better than we trust Chris Hipkins or Grant Robertson to do it. So Hipkins can say whatever he wants, but the bottom line is he's all talk. He's not actually getting things done or getting action.
News Talk ZB 1025.
Pack up and move to the beach and your new 2-bedroom luxury apartment at the Grove Orewa. Come and see for yourself at the Grove Orewa Open Days this Friday and Saturday. It's simply the best in coastal retirement living. Our open days are this Friday and Saturday. Our open plan living, all-day sun, luxury 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartments are selling now. Join us this Friday and Saturday at the Grove Orewa. thegroveorewa.co.nz.
Hello, I'm Louise Wallace, and I'm thrilled to announce I've cast myself in Tadpole Productions' hilarious Brit comedy, Relatively Speaking. I play Sheila, who's married to Philip, who's also with Ginny, who's engaged to Gregory, who thinks we're her parents, but of course we're not. But the real question is, who owns the slippers? Don't miss the brilliant bed-hopping laugh fest that is Relatively Speaking at the Pump House Theatre, Takapuna, May 4 to 14. Go to the Pump House website for tickets.
Auckland's massive New Zealand-made furniture and bed sale is on today. We've got Chase sofas from only $2,499. And get Celia's New Zealand-made Kent bed and your choice of Queen, King or Super King for only $19.99. Only at Big Save.
Now is the time to start your winter menu planning. Gilmore's is your one-stop shop that has everything you need this season. Put Gilmore's on your menu and join the club today with no annual fee. Gilmores.co.nz/sign up. Food, beverages and a whole lot more.
Open hearts.
Open minds.
Open day.
ACG Strathallan and Karaka invites you to their open day on Saturday, May 6th.
This is your chance to tour the amazing campus.
Meet the dedicated teachers, ask questions,
and find out what sets the school and curriculum apart.
Register online now for the ACG Strathallan Open Day, Saturday, May 6th.
ACG Strathallan. Learning without limits.
Every weekend, midday till 3, the big names in sport are on News Talk ZB's Weekend Sport with GJ Gardner Homes. The team at GJ Gardner Homes build more homes for New Zealanders than any other builder, and they're great supporters of sport. Whether it's on the international stage or at the grassroots, Weekend Sport brings you all the big stories. Weekend Sport, this Saturday and Sunday from midday with GJ Gardner Homes, New Zealand's most trusted home builder. Only on News Talk ZB.
Worldwide on iHeartRadio. Kerre Woodham Mornings. Engaging conversation on News Talk ZB.
News Talk ZB, Christopher Luxon in studio. You have 2.5 minutes. Co-governance, go.
Look, I think the government's done a very poor job of actually explaining what co-governance is. Even Chris Hipkins says there's a problem, but he hasn't actually said what it is or what it isn't. Our view is really simple. We have one country. We have a single system for public services. Those public services should be made available to all New Zealanders on the basis of need, not ethnicity, and that we're all equal under the law, one person, one vote. The third article of the treaty gave us equal citizenship. And, we're seeing some erosion of that with democracy, the extra appointees after elections and regional councils, those sorts of things. So the bottom line for us is no co-governance of public services. It's just a bottom line. And so we don't need a separate Maori health authority. We don't need a separate education system. We don't need a separate criminal justice system. The Māori Party wants a separate parliament. That's not up for it. We need one country. We meet everyone's basis on the basis of needs, not ethnicity. That's pretty basic for us.
A lot of people get their knickers in a knot about Māori names like Waka Kotahi. Does that bother you?
Well, I have to be honest, it does. I mean, a little
really?
bit. No, not in a major. But what I mean is, I'm fine with it. But right, I think there's 5 million people in New Zealand that need to be able to navigate their government, and actually. A lot of people that I talk to can't tell you what Waka Kotahi is versus Whātua Ora versus, a number of other agencies. And I actually think, having lived in Canada, where you have dual language of English-French, you had English first and you had French second, but both options were available. And in some cases, there's just the Māori option, and for people who don't speak te reo, it's actually really hard to follow. I'm surprised a number of people who don't know what Waka Kotahi actually is, what that agency actually does. So it's not a anti-Māori thing, it's just actually the public of New Zealand need to be able to navigate their government and know what their agencies are, so they can actually, get the services they can't.
But how much of that is willful ignorance? I mean, we live in a country where, and you must know too with tourism, it's important to differentiate yourself and not just be a homogenous part of a Western
Yeah, but I kind of
world.
want to know what the Health NZ is versus the New Zealand Transport Agency. I kind of need to, I think that's what people who aren't, when they have an interaction with government, just want to know who I'm dealing with and what it is. So I'm all up for having dual language. That's no problem, but have dual language so there's a choice and everybody understands what the agencies actually are.
Crime, law and order. I live in a good area, says Graham. My local dairy's had 1 ram raid, 2 robberies. The owner's elderly parents now sit outside the dairy every night to help
Amazing.
protect it. How can this be?
Yeah, I've been in many of those dairies. I've been most weeks, every couple of weeks I see one. I remember one in Bayswater, single dairy, 1 room wide. Mum and dad, 32, live above the shop. 5-year-old sleeping on a mattress behind the check-in counter. Car goes through there at 2 a.m. in the morning. 2 or 3 more incidences since that event. This government's soft on crime. They've sided with the offenders, not with the victims. As I've said to you, we need to have a serious young offender category that judges can classify. And if that means we send 15 to 17-year-olds into youth military academies with community organisations embedded in there to deal with their issues around literacy, numeracy, whatever, we need to make powerful, strong interventions in these young people's lives, because that's the notion that we've lost in our society, is rights and responsibilities. We have certain rights as Kiwis, but we have certain responsibilities to each other and to the country.
What happens when they come out of those youth academies and back to the
Yeah, well, many then what you do is you have the community organisations working with them from that after they come out of those academies, so they actually are making that transition incredibly well. And there's some amazing organisations doing that work today, and it's very successful. But for many of them, it's actually a break from their families, because they're actually. And when I speak to those young people, and I've spoken to many of them, that's often the influence, and that's the break and the circuit breaker that they get, that then gets their life back on track and in the right way.
News Talk ZB 10:32.
News Talk ZB Auckland. Time saver traffic.
Bargain box feed the household from $6.60 per plate. Now a couple of breakdowns. The first one in Albany Highway at Oteha Valley Road, and the other one on the southwestern between Massey Road and Coronation. If you can update us, 0800 jammed. The northern slow getting on at Upper Harbour City bound. The southern moderate flows through Green Lane. Get more than you bargained for with Bargain Box, New Zealand's most affordable meal kit. Ivanka Zonich for Time Saver Traffic.
The Milford Foundation and Milford invite you to Burgers, Beers and Brilliant Sports People, a sports star-studded fundraiser for Cyclone Gabrielle recovery, hosted by Jason Gunn, Monday 8th May at Eden Park. For info and tickets, visit milfordfoundation.co.nz.
Moving home? Don't do it alone. Need some space? We know a place. For every stage of life, Storage King has hassle-free storage solutions. Visit storageking.co.nz today. Storage King, the kings of storage, moving and more.
Explore the world on board the world's most luxurious fleet with Regent 7 Seas Cruises. Experience a mix of destinations, cultures and landscapes. Plus, enjoy up to 50% off selected 2023 sailings when you book up to a concierge suite. With Regent 7 Seas Cruises, you'll enjoy an unrivaled experience with true all-inclusive luxury, from unlimited shore excursions to premium beverages and specialty dining. Visit rssc.com or contact your travel advisor.
Hot Spring Spa's huge warehouse clearance sale, 4 days only, on now. So huge, we've taken over the car park. Our biggest clearance sale in 4 years. Hundreds of models must clear. Save up to $12,000 on Spa packages. Trade-in, full stock, ex-demos and new Spas all priced to clear. You don't want to miss out on these unbeatable clearance deals. Now's your time to climb into the world's best-selling spa. You won't regret it. Only at 35 William Pickering Drive, Albany. On now, just 3 days left.
At Ryman, we create communities that challenge the expectations of ageing. Choosing to make the move to a Ryman village while you're independent allows you to enjoy everything that's on offer. You'll also have the reassurance that our villages offer assisted living, rest home, and in most villages, hospital and dementia care on site. Become part of a village that believes life only gets richer with age. With 11 villages in Auckland, find the one that's right for you. Search Ryman Auckland.
News Talk ZB headlines.
With Blue Bubble taxis, it's no trouble with a Blue Bubble. Renters aren't buying National's line. It'll benefit them to have reduced protections, including giving landlords the ability to evict without a reason to entice more landlords back into the market. People in Warkworth, north of Auckland, are being asked to urgently conserve water immediately after a second morning in a row after another break in the water main. There are estimates the cost of weather damage to the Marlborough Sounds transport network will run to hundreds of millions of dollars. An arrest warrant has been issued for the former head of Nelson's Investment Services Limited, Neil Barnes, accused of stealing more than $2 million. He currently lives overseas. Air New Zealand's elevated its year-end earning expectations to between $510 and $560 million, a lift being put down to increased air travel, reduced fuel costs and customers paying a premium. The countdown is on in London as the city prepares for King Charles's coronation, which is at 10 p.m. New Zealand time on May 6 at Westminster Abbey. Grading the All Blacks' chances of World Cup success. Read more at NZ Herald Premium. Back to Kerre Woodham.
Malcolm, thank you. It is, 23 minutes to 11. A texter says, who are you talking to? I'm voting for him. I'm talking to Chris Luxon, who's the leader of the National Party.
I appreciate the vote. I really do.
You're going to need every
you can get
single
angry,
one.
You can throw stuff at your TV, you can sound off with your mates, but you've actually got to vote. And if you want to change the country, that's what you've got to do.
Alan, thank you for holding. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Right. Morning, Christopher.
G'day, Alan.
Why isn't National all over NASA's latest readings? New Zealand took part in the methane readings, and New Zealand came out net. So that tells me that our agriculture's in a equal situation. Why aren't you all over this?
Well, look, I mean, we've been very supportive of not putting agriculture into the ETS, as you know. We support what's called the split gas model, which is essentially saying, look, CO2 goes into ETS, but actually methane is a different gas and it needs a different set of treatments. We've got a Climate Commission review of the methane science. I think that happens next year. It's important. It's actually legalised and mandated that there is a review of methane science, and because it gets updated and changed exactly as you just highlighted. So that's the opportunity for us to actually understand exactly what's going on with respect to methane. My view very strongly on agricultural emissions pricing in particular is that what the government did, which was actually say, look, they took the model from the industry, which I think was quite out there, and actually said we're going to go destroy farmers, 20% of our sheep and beef farmers in 7 years, and actually move all that production overseas doesn't help improve greenhouse gas emissions or our climate change challenges that we've got. Our view is very simple. We're not going to bankrupt farmers and remove their livelihoods in order to deliver this. We are the most efficient in the world. Moving production out of New Zealand overseas doesn't help the global challenge around climate change. You need to get full credit for all the good stuff that you're doing on farm, which you're currently not getting in the proposed model. And you need to make sure that, as I said, we don't leak it, we don't leak volume out overseas, and we actually make sure you don't destroy your livelihood. So, and we make big investments in R&D to make progress on it. So, I think there's a practical, pragmatic pathway through it. We work with the sector, we take the sector with us, and we partner with the sector properly. The government's dictated a whole bunch of stuff and it's just not workable.
Steve, good morning to you.
Good morning.
G'day, Steve.
Yeah, g'day. Hey, listen, when you start talking about tax, when you start talking like an accountant, I get very sleepy. It's dull. It's like asking my accountant if he's good at maths. We know National's going to do this stuff around the numbers, so you don't have to make such a song and a dance about it, right? But I'll tell you what you haven't been making a song and dance about is the travesty of justice that is taking place in our courts pretty much every week. And I'll pick one for you.
Yeah.
Not sure if you heard about the guy who got pretty much turned into a vegetable through a coward punch. Now, why were you not in front of the pack, i.e. Winston Peters, when it came to coming out and saying, look, we're going to deal with this with a mandatory sentence of 10 years? Where was National? Because you've lost me there. It seems like you don't care, Chris.
No, we do care deeply. I mean, we've got a government that's only issue in justice or crime is actually a 30% reduction in the prison population. We've got a 30% increase in violent crime, a 40% in retail crime, 60% growth in gangs, and a ram rate every 10 hours. We don't have to accept that. We're not going to accept that. That's not the new standard or the new normal in New Zealand. And so we're really clear on that. We're going to be tough on crime. We're going to make sure that we've got serious consequences for serious crimes.
But how does that translate into the courts?
Well, that's one of the things on the courts is that there is a series of discounts that go on in sentencing as well. And there's been some perverse outcomes, I think, as well. And I appreciate, and I think, watch for the space because we've got more to say about some of that with Paul Goldsmith and our Justice
You
Space.
have not got much time, Christopher Luxon.
No, but I also want to make sure that when we come out with policy, we're really clear and we can actually articulate it very well to the New Zealand people and actually say where we're coming from and why we're doing what we're doing. Yeah.
You also said you were going to be really good about your candidate selection too.
And we've got some fantastic candidates coming through. We really have worked hard at that. I think when you see Katie Nimmin in Hawke's Bay, you see Catherine Wedd in Tuki, you see people like Tama Potaka that came through in Hamilton. I look at Frances Hughes, who's the head of the the Global Nurses Organisation, going to help us with our health issues. Emma Chatterton, great education expert. Sorry?
So how does somebody slip through the cracks like that?
You mean in terms of Steve and Jack last week?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, yep, it's left to local electorates to make that call ultimately. I'm really clear about the standards and the profile and the diversity I'm trying to attract.
Have they not heard of Google?
Yeah, well, no, and this, I mean, I don't know the details of how, what comments on his private Facebook page, but the bottom line is the comments were, were offensive, they were crass, and he was removed, and he resigned, and that's a good thing.
Yes, it is. Andrew.
Hey, Chris, really good to finally speak with you.
Hey, Andrew.
And, regardless, I'm definitely voting National.
Thank you.
Had enough of Labour, and if Labour comes in, I'm flying off to Australia. But my question to you is this. This is something that I would expect Labour to jump on. There was a New Zealand Herald, investigation that said that the suppliers are not jacking up the prices for consumers. It's actually the retailers. Now, Labour hasn't done anything with that bombshell. They've just walked right past it. What are you going to do to make sure that when I go to the counter at the groceries, I don't have to pay double or triple or just simply can't afford it?
Yeah,
How are you
right.
going to help them?
A couple of things going on here. So I worked for a company called Unilever, which was one of the biggest packaged goods companies in the world, and we sold to retailers all around the world. And so there are two things that I want to see happen around making sure we've got more competition and more avenues for making sure our retailers, our supermarkets in particular, aren't dominating our suppliers and forcing prices up. And I saw it work really well in the UK, for example. You have a watchdog and a commissioner that essentially has real teeth and powers to clamp down on poor trading practices between retailers and suppliers. And the second thing is you have and it sounds weird, but a code of conduct that they are held accountable to. And those two actions, the code of conduct with a dedicated commissioner or with some teeth, actually made great progress on a very similar duopoly type situation in the UK as well. So I'd like to let that go. If that doesn't solve more of the challenge, then actually we'll make some other steps, and there's a series of other interventions you could make. The second thing I'd say to you, though, is let's be clear. This government likes to blame everybody else for some of the problems that are going on, and we have a real set of problems around inflation. And they will say it's Ukraine, and they'll say it's oil, and they'll say it's COVID, and a whole bunch of international factors. That's rubbish. It's actually domestic factors that's driving our inflation. And it's because, again, the government is not managing the underlying causes of inflation. So that's what's driving food prices up 12%, fruit and vegetable up for 25%. I mean, here's the deal, right?
That's not just the government, though.
But here's a good example, right? I said to you the 5 things I'd do to tackle the underlying causes of inflation. One of them was to free up the blockages in the system, including immigration settings. Go out and talk to growers up and down the country, and I've gone to all the regions, and you talk to them. They didn't have the workers last year to actually pick the fruit and vegetables. There was more demand than supply, and as a result, fruit and vegetable prices are up over 20%. Give you a feel for it, kiwi fruit industry left $500 million on the vines, didn't actually manage to sell that product because they couldn't pick it. So when you don't have the workers, you end up driving inflation and prices up as a result, and that's exactly what's happened with a lot of our food prices. So, let's be tough on the supermarkets and make sure that we've got a good regulatory framework around that. I think those 2 actions will help. But on the other hand, you've got to get into the causes of inflation because that's what's driving it. So you can do Band-Aid economics on the top, but you've got to get to the causes underneath.
Very good. 11:15, but that was 3, let me be clears. I know. I've got my own little verbal tics, but for everyone listening, she's got a counter in front of her and she's doing it really good. You have got limited time. So, News Talk ZB, it's 11:15.
Hi, I'm Mike from Waitemata Backyard Beds. We've got bed bargains galore at our new outlet bed store, located in Bishop Dunn Place at Flatbush Botany, right by Kitchen Things. Lots and lots of new, hugely price-reduced beds or end-of-the-line floor model clearance items to choose from. Check out our Waitemata Backyard Beds outlet store in Flatbush Botany today.
Sleep better, live better, Waitemata Backyard Beds and Beds.
I'm I for instant.
And I'm F for finance. The money. And here's a bunch of what ifs.
What if you could upgrade your car?
Get a washing machine that actually washes.
Or jump on a plane to see the Fano.
Just by talking to Instant Finance.
Woohoo!
If money is standing in the way of something you want, go to instantfinance.co.nz.
If you ask us,
you should do it now.
Instant Finance, makers of possible.
Responsible lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. See online for more detail.
At Stone and Water World, you'll find inspiration for every corner of your garden, and water features are the perfect centrepiece for your outdoor space. The sound and movement of cascading water, creating a soothing and contemplative atmosphere, like unwinding by an ocean or river from the comfort of your own personal oasis. Visit the Stone and Water Feature specialists, Stone and Water World, Albany and Ellerslie.
Stone and Water World. Stone and Water World.
Open 7 days.
Don't miss out. Hunter Home's huge store-wide sale ends soon. Save a massive 20 to 50% off everything in store, including all lounge, dining, occasional furniture, homewares and more. Only at Hunter Home, Sylvia Park, Westgate and Waido Park. T's and C's apply.
You got mud, you got mold. Everything around the house looks a little too old. Remove it all with Wet and Forget.
The original Kiwi-made Wet and Forget one product, any surface, 21 stores nationwide.
Hi, I'm Mike from Waitemata Backyard Beds. Our exclusive Thermoelastic Integra hybrid pocket spring mattresses, just like the cars, combine the best of the traditional with the most modern technology. With a hybrid mattress, you can eliminate the need for compromise, get great support and be darn comfortable too. Trying to explain it on the radio is like attempting to give you a haircut over the phone. So come on in to one of our 6 Waitemata stores and try a Thermoelastic Integra mattress yourself.
Honest, unfiltered, no holds barred. Kerre Woodham Mornings. Call 0800 80 1080 and have your say. News Talk ZB.
Turn the microphone on. Is this my first rodeo? Mary says, I'm a bit disappointed, Kerre. You're coming across as being a bit hostile. I'm not hostile. It's just I'm not.
No, you're being passionate and you're being direct, and that's what I appreciate. And the chance to be able to be direct back with you is good.
Good. And, I was saying before you came in, I was sick and tired of bloody bumper stickers and sloganeering, and I'm not going to talk behind your back. I'm going to talk right out.
I appreciate the directness.
Australia.
Yeah, look, great for, 3 things really I think about that. One is great for Kiwis over there. I lived there for 5 years, and all of us have family that have some connection over there. So I understand for Kiwis that are long-term and Australia is now their home, that makes sort of good sense. That's great for them individually. Super cunning move by Anthony Albanese.
Yeah.
I know Anthony a little bit from my old life, and killer move, because basically he's tapping into a market that's actually really well trained, really great talent. New Zealanders work harder than Australians in Australia. They earn more income than the average Australian in Australia, because the Kiwis that go there have a bit of ambition and aspiration and often want to make a go of themselves. So he's doing a great job for his country in terms of accessing a talent pool that and making it easier to bring talent into Australia. When there's a global war for talent, great move. So then the third thing is, it's a big wake-up call for New Zealand, because it's the conversation we were having at the beginning. Where do you want to go, New Zealand? Do you want to be a country that just slowly drifts away and actually becomes less relevant and less competitive, and not a place that young people feel there's a place of opportunity for them here? And our challenge is to rebuild the country, to turn it around and actually make it a place of opportunity so that young people say, I can start a business here and it's going to be great.
They have to see a future for
I can
themselves.
actually raise a family here and it's going to be awesome.
And I'll have a bit left over.
And I have a bit left over. If I work hard, I can actually get ahead and make something for myself, my family, my community. So that's the opportunity society that we need to be able to create in New Zealand. That's my motivation for coming, because that's what I mean when I say endless potential, but we're not realising it.
And a big part of that is our education system. And I agree with you about getting back to the basics, but teachers are not dealing with well-fed, well-nurtured, beautiful little souls that are coming to school ready to learn.
Get out and about in schools. I go to school every week typically, and sometimes several a week, and it's amazing. We have incredible teachers, but they're doing the job of parents, they're doing the job of social workers, they're doing the job of counsellors, they're dealing with behavioural issues that
so how are you going to change it?
And they're actually not getting to teaching.
No, they're not.
So we've got to back our teachers big time. And there's again, the first part of our education policy, it's not the complete policy, was actually saying, look, let's get our teachers well supported, well trained in teaching the basics. And then we've got to be able to get them support so they can actually manage some of those behavioural issues and get to the teaching.
They need support so they can teach. And parents need to be accountable for looking after their children.
We have half our kids not going to school regularly at the moment. And the point is, if you can't wake up at 7 a.m. and get your kid in a car or walk them to school or whatever you need to do, get them into the doors of the school at 8:30, that's on you, because you have the kids, you chose to have the kids. Your parents did it for you, your grandparents did it for them, and the idea is that...
Maybe they didn't. Maybe what we're seeing is about 20% is intergenerational, according to the truancy man that was on with Mike earlier this week, 20% of them, they will get fed when they go to school. They will get uniforms. They will get everything they need.
Exactly. The barriers for the excuses and the culture of excuses has to stop. And parents, I'm sorry, you got to step up to the mark and take responsibility for it. And we've got to call you to accountability to do that, because the deal's simple. Every generation should do better than the one before it. And we're at risk of this generation not achieving that. Today already, the average 15-year-old in New Zealand knows a year and a half less maths than their parents did 20 years ago as 15-year-olds. We have half our kids showing up at high school not at standard or
So again, what will you do about it?
So that's why I started the first step to do, and I appreciate there's work to do on teacher support and aid, and that's coming. But the first thing we have to do is make a commitment to say we're going to teach our kids the basics incredibly well. So that's why I say in primary and intermediate, we give them an hour of maths, reading and writing each and every day. Teachers bring it to life in a really great, engaging way. It's not like the old days, for those listeners, that were really tortured by endless times tables and spelling tests and spelling bees. The second thing is we don't have a defined curriculum. In Australia, they teach algebra in year 5. In the UK, they teach it in year 6. In New Zealand, we say somewhere between year 6 and 10 will be just fine. And as a result, we don't have specificity on what a child is supposed to learn in year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we need to be doing 2 regular assessments, not tests, we're not about where your child is relative to other kids. It's about whether they're actually taking on board the knowledge the teachers are teaching them in that curriculum. And then we need to back the teachers and make sure that they're supported in teaching that curriculum.
Well, I'll be very interested in hearing the detail on how exactly you will do just that. We'll take a break. News Talk ZB, it is 7 to 11.
Go electric with Ford. Choose from hybrid, plug-in hybrid and all-electric vehicles at your local Ford dealership now. The future is electric. The future is Ford.
I'm here to clear the air. Building a new airtight home? You need to say yes to DVS Home Ventilation, because a healthy home is one that can breathe. Visit dvs.co.nz.
DVS. Say Honda to most Kiwis and they'll immediately think motorbikes, because we've been riding and loving Honda here for over 50 years. But there's a lot more to Honda than motorbikes. Honda's legendary design and engineering quality is also available in a complete range of outdoor power equipment, from lawnmowers to leaf blowers, pumps to generators, you name it. Check out the Honda power equipment range at any Honda Outdoors store or at hondaoutdoors.co.nz.
Hot Spring Spa's huge warehouse clearance sale, 4 days only, on now. So huge, we've taken over the car park. Our biggest clearance sale in 4 years. Hundreds of models must clear. Save up to $12,000 on Spa packages. Trade-in, floor stock, ex-demos and new Spas all priced to clear. You don't want to miss out on these unbeatable clearance deals. Now's your time to climb into the world's best-selling spa. You won't regret it. Only at 35 William Pickering Drive, Albany. On now, just 3 days left.
The FIFA Women's World Cup is coming to your doorstep from July 20. Witness greatness, feeding greatness, captivating this generation and inspiring the next. Get your seats now at fifa.com/tickets.
Since 2021, thousands of Kiwi businesses have been reducing their admin, protecting against fraud, and allowing for faster payments, all with one easy step. They've upgraded to e-invoicing, the new way of invoicing that's a lot faster, smoother, and safer than emailing a PDF. For most businesses, getting set up is easy and free. So as times get tougher, don't get left behind. Take the next step for Kiwi business at einvoicing.govt.nz.
Z Business Plus makes managing fuel easy. It's fee-free with choice benefits like 8 cents off every litre, every day, everywhere you need us. Sign up today for the 2022 CanStar Blue Best Small Business Fuel Card. Z is for New Zealand. T's and C's apply.
News Talk ZB, it is 4 minutes to 11. That's it. Out of time.
It's gone fast.
Gone fast. You did very well.
I enjoyed the direct exchange, and it's a great opportunity for me, as I said to you, because as the leader of the opposition, you get often less opportunities to have a proper conversation like this, and this format actually gets you beyond just the 3 to 6 second bumper sticker, as you say. So
yeah.
I really appreciate being with you today. It's been great.
No, it's been good, and I was very direct with Chris Hipkins too. I think in the conversation, I just want everyone to understand. Look, we do have a fantastic country. Like, let's not give up on New Zealand. I know people are frustrated and angry, and we're heading in the wrong direction. I get it. Yeah.
But the point is, we have great potential. We have endless potential. We have everything we need. We have great people. We have great opportunities ahead of us. So let's go to
agree
work
with you
and
about the
rebuild it
kids.
back. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's the choice that we have at this election is, let's build back. We were the best in the world at education. We can be again. We had a great healthcare system. We can do that again. We can make sure we build houses and get infrastructure sorted in this country. We can make sure that people can work hard and get ahead if they do that. So I'm pumped about it. That's why I've come. I appreciate I'm coming from outside the system, but I think that's great because actually I think we need a leader that actually knows how to get things done and understands the economy. And given the waters we're about to go through, take people with us, do it through, with and for people, and we'll have a great country.
Your choice of song?
Yeah, well, I've been listening. When I've got a moment, I've been watching this show on TV called Slow Hands, which is a great MI6 sort of special spy story. This is Mick Jagger made the theme song for this TV series. So see what you think.
Strange Game by Mick Jagger will take us through to the news at 11. Leader of the National Party, Christopher Luxon, a pleasure. And will we see you one more time before the election? I think we will, won't we?
I hope so.
I can't do maths. What's quarterly? Yeah, must be.